Hey Algebra 1, today we're going to do 9.3, solving by graphing. Now, before we even do solving by graphing, let's think about what is solving by graphing. Well, solving with graphing is simply where it hits the x-axis. So when we ask, usually it says, please find the roots of this equation. So the roots are where it hits the x-axis. In this particular picture that I drew, this particular parabola that I drew, it hits the x-axis there and there. And we've done this before. We've done this before because think about it. The x-axis is when y equals 0. So if I had an equation like this, I could solve it with factoring. That was from chapter 8. Just a quick reminder what it was. So we have our equation here. X squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. So what we would have to do is figure out what multiplies to c and that adds to b. So 3 and 1 multiplies the 3 and adds to 4. So then we would do x plus 3, x plus 1 equals 0. Then you split it and solve for each one. X plus 3 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. X equals -1. X equals -3. So I'm hoping when you look at this, you're like, oh, this feels familiar. Because it should be familiar. This part right here should feel familiar. So sometimes we're not going to solve it with factoring. Or sometimes the situation doesn't allow us to factor. Like it's just not going to be able to be factored. So then we're going to solve it with graphing. So we're going to show you how to do that today. We, as in me. I'm going to show you how to do that today. So let's first just talk about what the standard form of the quadratic equation is. A standard form for the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals either y or 0. Okay? So sometimes we have to change it into the standard form before we can even do anything. So I'm just going to make one up. Imagine you had 3x squared plus 7 equals 5x. And I would ask you, please, let's make it to standard form so we can set up to solve. Well, you want all your numbers in one side, and you want anything that's left over on the other side. In this case, it'll be 0. So I'm going to subtract 5x here. It's a little easier to bring just 5x over here than it is to bring both of these to the right. So then minus 5x, I cross this out. So I have minus 5x, but these doesn't combine any like terms, so you just have to write it like this. 3x squared minus 5x plus 7 equals 0. So in this case, you have your standard form, ABC, and it equals 0. So this is in standard form, okay? So that's how to rewrite something in standard form. That's pretty simple. And we're going to do something that we also did. Let's check if this is a solution. So I'll use a different one. So let's do a very basic one. X squared minus 30. Now let's do 49. Minus 49 equals 0. Check if 7 or -7 are solutions. Well, let's just put in 3 or something, so we have a wrong one. Well, let's say if I ask you to check if these are solutions. So you just take this and plug into your x and see if the statement becomes true. So I'm going to plug in positive 7. So 7 squared minus 49. Well, 7 squared is 49 minus 49. That does equal 0. So that checks out. So this one checks out. Let's plug in -7. Now, remember, when you square a negative, that's like doing -7 times -7. So that's a positive 49. So positive 49 minus 49 does equal 0. So that checks off. And let's say I plug in a 3. 3 squared minus 49. That's 9 minus 49. 9. I don't know why I wrote G. That does not equal 0 for sure. So since that does not equal 0 for sure, this one is not a solution. So sometimes we're going to be asking you to check your solutions too, okay? So that takes away the basics. Now let's get to actual graphing. And today I think what I'm going to do is that we're just going to talk about how the answers look like on a graph, how many solutions you have on a graph. And instead of actually graphing, we'll leave that to the next time we have a lesson, which I believe should be next week sometime. So let's talk about how many solutions can you have. Well, I'm going to draw 3 xy planes right here. And then you're going to tell me what is the solutions. So let's say if I drew a parabola like this. And remember, when I say I want solutions, I want how many times does it hit the x-axis? How many roots do I have? So this one on the left, notice your vertex is in the negative x here, okay? And it's going up. And I guess let me just do this over here also. Let's say you have one like this also. It could be upside down also. Remember, that's a negative a. So you have 2 roots in this one. So these, where it hits the x-axis twice, is 2 roots. Okay? So when it hits the x-axis twice, that's a 2-root situation, okay? Because it hits the x-axis here and hits the x-axis here. On the top one, it hits the x-axis here, it hits the x-axis here. So we could have 2 solutions or 2 different answers that cause it to be 0. Then sometimes you have a parabola just like this. And let's do another one. Let's put it like here. So if this was a 2 solution, this right here should be a 1 solution or 1 root. Okay? So that's 1 solution right here. So this is 2 solution on the left. This is 1 solution. It hits the x-axis only once. And then over here, I think you can figure out the pattern. Let me throw another one. Let's draw it like down here. Sometimes your parabola could be drawn where it never hits the x-axis. So when it never hits the x-axis, that's 0 root or 0 solution. If we were to graph this or to do this, you would say in this situation, there's no solution. There is no number you could plug in that causes this number at y equals 0. Okay? So sometimes you have 2 roots, sometimes you have 1 roots, and sometimes you have 0 roots. So how many answers you could have in that? So those are the different type of parabolas. And the last thing I want to cover today is just how do we look at the graph and how does it give me the answer? Like I said earlier, it's where it hits the x-axis. So let me just draw just a random parabola. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. Let's say it's like a parabola like this. Okay. So if I just gave you this graph and I ask you, give me the solutions or give me the roots, you have to look at it and you say, well, Mr. Tobel said multiple times that the roots are simply where it hits the x-axis. So this is where it hits the x-axis, and this is where it hits the x-axis. What are those 2 points? Well, I went 1 left, so that's x equals -1. That's one of my roots. And then I went 1, 2, 3 right, so that's x equals 3. So my answer is -1 and 3. Okay? So I'm going to cut the video off today, and then we'll do the actual graphing tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, whenever we have next time class. I think it has to be Monday or Tuesday. But we have our graph here, and we're going to check the solution. We're just breaking up all the pieces separately. The next day we have our lesson. We're going to do the actual graphing, where we do the actual make the table, solve where the x is, and figure out the answers from there. Now, I'm going to stop the video now just to say good luck. I'll try to have a Zoom, but I might not be able to today, okay? So I'll post that later on Google Classroom if I am or able not to. Have a wonderful day.